Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited for today's episode because I got to interview Kerri Hummingbird once again. I did an interview with her a few years back, and it was so lovely to reconnect with this amazing shamanic soul. She's absolutely brilliant, so deeply connected to Mother Earth and all of the beautiful work that she does. So I'm just honored. I'm excited for you to hear all of her wisdom when it comes to more deeply connecting with the nature of who we are, the nature of the world, and healing on a very deep level. She has a new book coming out, Inner Medicine, and I highly recommend everyone check it out. So without further ado, here is Kerri's interview.
Well, welcome everyone. I am so excited to bring back Kerri Hummingbird, an absolutely amazing, phenomenal human being. She is a medicine woman, a mother, and mentor. She's founder of Inner Medicine Training, which is a mystery school that shares potent ancient transformation traditions and that really comes from the Andes, the Himalayas. She's all about owning your own wisdom and living in your purpose. Kerri is a #1 international best-selling author of The Second Wave, Transcending the Human Drama. She's also written Love is Fierce, Healing Your Mother Wounds. And today I'm so excited to be sharing with you. She has a new book out, Inner Medicine, which we're going to be talking a lot about, which is becoming one with Mother Earth for the survival of humanity. She's also host of the Soul Nectar Show, which is her own amazing podcast. And I'm just so excited to have you back. Welcome back, Kerri.
Oh, thank you, Natalie. It's great to be here and blessings to everybody who's listening.
Yes. And, I just love everything you do and the wisdom that you bring because you bring in so many amazing ancient traditions and wisdom that we don't hear every day. We talk about spirituality and religion and things like that and personal development, but you have such a beautiful connection to the earth and Mother Earth. And that's seems like what your new book is all about, is like reconnecting to that. So tell us a little bit, first and foremost, what is inner medicine? What is it all about? And how can we understand this concept and relate to it a bit better?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, inner medicine is a whole paradigm shift. It's a shift out of seeking solutions, mental, emotional health solutions from the outside experts that supposedly have all the answers over and above yourself. And not to say you wouldn't ever consult that, but it's shifting the focus to your inner medicine and to your being the navigator of your life journey. You're the one that's going to check inside with you to see if that feels right to you or not. And so these people are not elevated on a pedestal above you. Everybody is equal on the ground floor, and we all have different training, we all have different backgrounds, we all have different lived experiences, and all of that contributes to your inner medicine. So of course, when you're collecting information, let's say you're not feeling happy, you're not feeling satisfied in your life, you might hire someone like Natalie, and Natalie's, because Natalie's overcome tons of obstacles in her life, and you might want to consult with her, but you're still going to place that as secondary to your own inner processing, your own inner wisdom, and checking with that voice within, checking with that inner guidance system within before making a decision about direction. And that's really a huge paradigm shift, because what we're doing now is we're surrendering all of our authority, all of our decision making to these outside people based on what certification they have, what little three letters after their name they have, how many years in school they've trained, whether they're approved and endorsed by the system of Western psychology or Western medicine or not. We're sort of like making them the lab coats, the ones that know everything. But secretly, they don't know. They're actually just making their best guess. They've had some training, they've had some experiences, that all of that comes into the picture, but they're guessing. And there's plenty of cases, I know in your show probably too, or definitely on Soul Nectar Show, of people that have overcome things like terminal cancer, diagnoses that like you're gonna die, myself included, in terms of mental illness diagnosis labels I got from Western medical. And it's like, yeah, I don't have that anymore. That's not how I view myself. That's not how I see myself, because I'm the creator of my own life, my own dream of life. And the truth is, so is everybody listening. So is everybody. We're all creating our reality. So don't give somebody else the pen to write your life story. No, claim that back. That's your pen. That's your story. That's your book of destiny. You're the one writing it. Don't let anybody else write it. They can be minor players, but they can't be major players. So, that's really the shift that I'm inviting people to have.
I love that. And that sounds like it relates similarly to how I teach when it comes to intuition, like following your higher self and your inner guidance and really tapping in. And I always tell my followers, my clients, my students, you can hear what I say and you can try it on for size, but deep down, you're the only one that knows. I can't tell you where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to live your life. I'm not here to give you the answers. You have to find it within yourself. And that's so powerful because it empowers you to take ownership of your life and your inner guidance.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
so, rather than kind of seeking these apparently tried and true solutions, step outside the box. I was just talking with somebody yesterday who's from the medical industry, and they're like, yeah, there's just like a checklist of care, right? And they move through the checklist and they check off all the boxes. And at the end of the checklist, they're like, well, we don't know. If none of that worked for you, we don't know. And the truth is, they really don't anyway. They're just trying to systematize something, right? That's actually a highly unique, highly personalized interaction with the divine. They're trying to systematize this as if it's rational. It's not rational. Everybody's experience is unique. I mean, think about this. Like, you've met people who drank alcohol, ate dessert, did whatever they wanted, smoked cigarettes, and lived to like 120, like it defies what we think is true, right? That's because that person, whatever, who knows why that is. That's their life plan. And somebody else never touched a cigarette, never drank, never had sugar, everything eliminated from their diet, totally aesthetic, meditative, all this perfect behavior, and then they die. So there really isn't actually a common ground. There's really just individual journeys that we can kind of start to draw or connect some dots about and start to form some theories about the way life works. But ultimately, it's our personal journey. That's how life works.
I totally agree with that. We have this idea and these standards of these signs and signals and labels that we put on things, but everyone's experience and journey is their own. And we all have different lessons to learn. There's so many layers to our being, and there are probably dozens of layers beyond what our human mind can even comprehend anyways. So we're kind of just going through this experience and allowing ourselves to evolve in ways that we need to, we're meant to, or we're excited to explore. On that note, is when it comes to inner medicine, how does the earth and spirituality play a part in helping us to make that better decisions, to be more divinely connected? What's your take on that?
Well, the way that I view that really stems from looking at how mushrooms work. So, mushrooms are all over the planet, and they form a mycelial network, which is kind of like the great internet under the surface of the earth and the soil. And they actually team up with tree roots to form this network. And so the trees and the mushrooms are aware of what's happening around the other side of the world. Pretty interesting, right?
Hmm.
Well, we can do the same thing. It's just that we have to get out of this idea that we're separate and that we're somehow, I don't know, sometimes I think people think they're just like, I'm a human, I'm just plunked on the earth. Like, the earth is a floor and I'm just like plunked on the earth and I'm separate and I'm alone. And it's like, no, actually, if you just think about it rationally, you're made of earth. You are made of the materials of earth. This is what makes it so ridiculous to think that we can like form societies on Mars and stuff like that in a human body. No, you're made of earth. You're not made of Mars. You're made of earth. How are you going to do that? You're going to have to fabricate this entire other experience in order to force this thing to happen. No, you're made of earth. We're meant to be on earth in this vessel. We're made of earth. So if you think about that, as I started dropping into just contemplation, I'm made of earth. I can't be not made of earth. I'm made of earth. I'm made of dirt. I'm made of fire. I'm made of water. I'm made of air. I'm made of earth consciousness. Oh, I'm made of earth consciousness. Oh, like earth is like the glove that my spirit goes into. Oh, so I can't ever be separate from earth. Oh, and I can never be separate from spirit because I am that, right?
Hmm.
Hmm. So it starts to open things up if you just contemplate that for a while. You start to realize Earth's always speaking to you through your body and letting you know things you need to know. And we usually ignore those signs, like your stomach gets a pain or it gets upset right before you go to a conversation. We just go, well, I have to have the conversation, or let's just get out of the way, or I'm busy. I don't have time to think about that. We're just rushing past all the signs that are right there in the body. Earth herself is talking with us constantly and guiding us. And when I really drop into that in meditation contemplation, it blows my mind how Mother Earth is all of our mothers simultaneously managing our soul curriculum, simultaneously matching us all up together in this like profoundly complex set of synchronistic connections and moments and conversations and ideas. Wow. So when you really drop in and you get connected with your body as a piece of earth consciousness and you start really tuning in and listening to our mother, wow, you start to realize things at the same time as a lot of other people realizing those things. And I started having this realization, Natalie, actually, the last time I talked to you, because that was during the release of the second wave book. And
Yes.
I was meeting people like Natalie all over the place. And we all knew the same things, basically the same things with just slightly different details or different ways to describe it, but it's essentially the same thing. And I was like, how is it that we all know the same thing? That is so weird, because normally, previously in my life, nobody knew the same thing as me. I was like the weirdo, and I was like, nobody knows. They want me to prove it. I'm like, I can't prove it. I don't know. I don't have a book or like a scientific study. I'm just telling you what I know. Then I started meeting all those other people that knew, like you, and then we don't argue over stuff like that because we just know. We check our body. Our body's like, yep, that's true. Maybe there's a little fuzziness here or there, like in the description. And you're like, yeah, it's mostly true. I don't like this piece over here. But we have our clues in our body, and we don't need to argue about it anymore. That is really what happens when you become one with Mother Earth, or you already are, but you realize it. You let it in. You listen to it. You let go of doubt and confusion, and you just be guided by her. You're going to start showing up exactly where you need to be, with who you need to be, and say what you need to say. And it's all going to make sense in some really random way that you could not have predicted. And then it's enjoyable. Like a lot of times I open my mouth, I have no idea what I'm going to say. I was like, what? And I'll watch it back and I'll think, oh, my ego will get super defensive. Like, oh, that was terrible. That was a terrible interview. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. And I'll go back and listen. I'll be like, this is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with this. But our egos get, because our soul is in flow with Mother Earth when we get to this place, where we're having these kind of conversations.
It really is a beautiful thing to be reminded of that. Some people, they live more in nature in rural areas, and so they feel more connected to the earth. But there's a lot of us that live in cities, and we're on streets and sidewalks and kind of surrounded by concrete. And even though we can go to Mother Nature, to a park, to hike in the mountains nearby or the ocean, it's not as ingrained in us as it once was hundreds of years ago when we lived more connected to the earth, which is a really fascinating concept. But everything we eat comes from the earth, everything that moves through our body, everything we breathe, and how we're just this cycle of cells and particles that are all made up of the earth, everything that we came from and our ancestors came from, and we pass down information through our DNA and through particles in our bodies from our ancestral lineage. And it is earth. We are earth. And yeah, I think sometimes that concept is lost for people, and that's where the disconnect comes in. When you realize that you are not separate, we can talk about it on like the physical plane, as in we're not separate from earth. We are all part of the same, building blocks. But then on a spiritual level, we're not separate either, because there's the quantum field that connects us all. So reminding ourselves of these layers, the physical layer of connection and the spiritual layers of connection, allows us to go deeper into our understanding of human reality, into our understanding of ourselves and the collective consciousness, and maybe even perhaps finding more meaning in our purpose here when we're aware of that, instead of constantly seeing ourselves as separate from earth, separate from other people, separate from everything and all alone, that is not a reality. That's just a lie from the collective consciousness that keeps us separate from our deeper alignment and connection. And I think the more people are able to physically connect to the earth, that is really important. I always try to make sure a couple times a week, especially after I go to the gym, there's a grassy area right outside. So I'll go take off my shoes and I physically connect and I do my earthing so that I help to polarize, my body to be more connected to the earth and take in those earth codes. Earth codes is something that I keep hearing about. I don't know. Do you know much about earth codes? Because I hear the concept. I know that the planet is constantly shifting. And in order for us to stay up to date with all the cosmic shifts, we do need to be doing some earthing. But I don't know, maybe through some of your training, you can give a little more insights into what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say yes, it's important to get connected with the earth. Be barefoot on, sit on the earth with your back against a tree, wherever you can find some earth, definitely get your feet on it and be there for a while, out in
Mhm.
nature. The plastic shoes aren't so great, the rubber soles and all that, because it does block some of the frequencies. So you do want to take your shoes off and be barefoot. And it is important to be grounded because you want to get your heart realigned with Earth's heartbeat. So our heartbeats is that this is the Schumann resonance, right? This is the heart math. If you look at heartmath.org, they talk all about this. But you want to get in alignment with Earth. That produces harmony. When you're aligned with Earth, you are harmonious. When you are not aligned with Earth, you are disharmonious. And disharmoniousness leads to dis-ease and stress and anxiety and all the things that lead to disease. So living in a city with all the other people around, kind of 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 floors above the earth, that is that's a long distance to be away from the earth, right? So it's important to get down right on the earth, sit on the earth, even lie on the earth, go take a nap outside, just get close to the mama and really let her recalibrate you and open your heart and get connected back with that resonance. And she is moving right now, so yeah, the frequencies are changing, they're not static. So you do need to kind of like continue to be connected with her in order to be in harmony with the planet. And that'll help you with your meditations, that'll help you with sleep, that'll help you with just about everything. But I also don't want to create some story like you can't do it from a high rise, because that is just a story. Like everything in this bubble is Mother Earth, like all of it. We're in her atmosphere, we're in her auric field. So we're not separate from her. We're inside the auric field of Mother Earth. So, we are in her. And I'll tell you, when I had all these judgments early on in my spiritual path about what was spiritual and what was not spiritual. And I had one teacher that just myth busted with me. We actually went to the mall to do a spiritual meditation exercise. And I was like, the mall is not spiritual. Like that is not, God is not at the mall. That doesn't happen. I was convinced. I was like, this is ridiculous. What's at the mall is like stinky, materialistic, greedy humans. Like, I don't want to be at the mall. So we went to the mall and she said, okay, now everyone, we're in sacred space. So just say a question and go and take your journey. And I walked all over the mall and I sat down finally and was asking for the answers. And I realized I was judging every person that walked by. I was thinking that person needs energy healing. That person needs energy healing. They're having this problem. They're having that problem. And at the time I was having a conflict with my dad because my dad had just come down with this rare disease and it was threatening to end his life. And I was like, you need some energy medicine because his mom had just died with that same disease and he didn't have it before. And I was like, oh my God, this is completely grandma, like in your field, like we need to heal you. Like, and he didn't want anything to do with my woo-woo stuff, right? And I was so frustrated. And I was judging him because he wanted to go and do chemo and a whole Western medical thing. And I was like, why would you put that toxin in your body? I don't understand. I was so upset. So that in the mall, the question I had asked at the beginning was, how can I be a really great healer for others and also for my family? Well, the answer was stop judging everybody and thinking you know what's right for them. Right. So God is at the mall. Like Mother Earth is at the mall. Everybody's listening. Divine Mother, whatever you think of as, God Source Creator, Great Spirit, Divine Mother, whatever the name is, it's like everywhere. So yeah, you can find it in the high rise too.
I love that. That's such a the statement that you said, "We're in Mother Earth's auric field," is so beautiful and so true, and I think a lot of us go through a similar experience that you did when we're going through our spiritual awakening, where we go through a phase of judgment, of thinking that certain things are spiritual, certain things are not, where we're constantly analyzing in order to compartmentalize things in our mind and in our memory to create frameworks, and then eventually we realize we have to throw it all out the door and just be kind and compassionate and let go of judgment and see everyone as being on their own beautiful journey. Everyone's learning different lessons. I have different lessons than the person next to me, and so forth. And seeing everyone as part of Mother Earth, the Holy Spirit, the collective consciousness in this beautiful divine matrix that we are all a part of. And each individual is beautiful in their own way. And wherever they are, whether they're on a high rise or they literally live in a yurt in the dirt, either way, you have the potential to be divinely connected to the earth energy and to your spirituality, no matter where you are and what you're doing and where you live. You can shift into that consciousness at will at any point in time.
Exactly. And having said that, I have heard from other people that have visualized like New Earth or had visions of what New Earth looks like. And I've heard from multiple people that their visions all kind of share that we move out of the cities and we deconstruct the cities and we actually do get closer to the earth. I mean, that's kind of the vision I've heard a lot of different places. So maybe that's because we all decide that we do want to be close to the earth and we do want to have a balance of plants and animals and birds and bees and other stuff be part of our reality.
I could definitely see that. I feel like we're in that day and age where we're going to one extreme with technology and robots and all of our computers and our iPhones. And now they have the new goggles, virtual reality. And I think people are going to get so overwhelmed. There's going to be kind of the pendulum's going to eventually swing probably in the other direction, realizing we've become so disconnected. We think that in some ways we're more connected because we've met each other online and we can connect in ways that we never could before through social media, through all these amazing online resources that we have. But at the same time, people spending so much time on their phone, on the computer, in virtual reality, the newer generation, I'm seeing more of a disconnect from being present, of really tapping in and feeling other people's energy, of being more connected to that Mother Earth intuitiveness, the divine connection that we all have. And there's going to need to be a correction of that at some point, for sure, or some sort of balance. It'll have to come back into balance.
Yeah, because if people are only living from like the chin up,
Hmm.
then they're neglecting like their body, and the body is an animal. So I mean, if we really just try that on for a second, that your body is an animal vessel that you inhabit as your soul. It needs to be petted, it needs to be fed, it needs to be cared about, it needs to be looked at, it needs to be interacted with, it needs to be felt, just like a cat. Like you wouldn't leave your dog at home, without food or water and no attention for like weeks on end. No, the
Hmm.
dog would die. And so we need to really be mindful that this is an animal and animals need connection with nature. Animals need connection with other animals. And if we isolate too much, then we start getting sick. And we saw that in COVID. Like a lot of the destruction of COVID was the fact that people being so isolated and so depressed and so disconnected and only being able to be on technology and not being free to walk around or even just breathe the air. I mean, this was a lot of extremity in terms of disconnection.
It definitely was. And I think we're starting to see a good shift coming back, but there are some people that were so heavily influenced by that. Now we're seeing a lot more mental illness and just a lot of fear, I think, in different ways, and a warped mentality of reality now based off of what we all went through. So, in your opinion, what do you think is causing more of the mental illness? Are there things that are happening or things that have influenced kind of the reality that we're seeing with people and the mental health world?
Absolutely. I think less contact with other people, isolationism, not having hugs. Hugs are healing. We need to hug each other. I know some people are saying, I don't want anybody touching me. Well, Hugs are healing. They've done some research on that, and if you just run the experiment, you'll find you feel better and you get hugs
Yeah.
when you actually get hugs. And it's also really about getting out of our minds and getting to our bodies, being connected with earth. That's all really, really important. And when we spend too much time in our mind and we give it too much precedence, what happens is that we do start to get sick. And we are actually overstimulated in our minds. We're overstimulated, and we do try to like feel the loneliness. People who are really isolated might just be very busy, keep themselves super busy and unaware of the loneliness, either that are distracted using alcohol or drugs, other things to cope with the loneliness and the depression. There's a lot of ways that people hurt themselves with behaviors like that, and then we have to come back from that. So I don't see any of it as shouldn't happen, but it is a door to the shadow world. It is a door to that dark journey of the soul, that dark night of the soul. And then at some point people want to wake up from that, and they want to come into the sunshine again, and they want to feel their bodies again, and they want to say hello to a stranger, they want to be part of a group, they want to gather in person, they want to go to the woods. And I think we're going to really, like you said, we've been on a pendulum swing, and our brains are completely overstimulated by how much time we spend on the computer, how much time we look at our phones. Our spines are out of alignment. I mean, just talking to my chiropractor, this whole bent head thing, looking at your phone, that disrupts the neural connections in your brain from your spine. Your spine needs to
Mhm.
be at a certain alignment in order for the kundalini to come up and through, right? So when we're looking, those of us who are looking to awaken, well, you got to keep that spine straight, let that kundalini energy move up your neck and up your shoulders and into your head and up and down your spine. So these are things that people are going to start realizing as stuck energy builds up. When you're separation is kind of like overstimulation and separation. It's very overwhelming, it's stressful, and it's stagnated. And so it's kind of like a lake in the woods that lost connection with the flow. Eventually it's going to get stinky. If you ever came across one of those, it's really smelly, it's dank, it's
Mhm.
dark, it's dusky, it's disgusting. And the less flow it has, the more putrid it becomes. And that's disease. That's what's happening inside people who aren't giving themselves access to some kind of flow through their spinal column, flow from breath through their body, flow, connection with the earth, with other humans, moving their bodies around different spaces, just being present in the moment.
Definitely, and I think because technology has evolved so much, people are sitting more and they're not getting up and interacting and walking. We don't have as many active jobs. There's a lot of sitting jobs. And what that does to the body is it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, we could talk hours
Yes.
and hours just on how the body is affected. My background is athletic training. My husband's a chiropractor. So
Okay.
the body
It's not.
work, like, yeah. And I danced for decades. I taught Pilates and posture work and everything else. And so I know exactly how misalignments of the spine and how sitting and being forward all the time on the computer. I feel it in my own body. It's something that I have to maintain, but it's a lot to work against. And, I think there's a lot of lessons here in how getting back to our primitive nature. And maybe you can touch on this too, since you have so much a wealth of knowledge with indigenous cultures. Are there things that we can learn from kind of backtracking into more of that lifestyle versus our Western lifestyle, and how, I don't know, maybe there's some lessons there or insights that you have on what we can shift, what we need to shift, or what we can start applying more in our life based off of things that you learned from some of these indigenous cultures?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is spider medicine. So, spider medicine, if you think about it, is every time we use the power of the word to tell a story, we're like a spider spinning a web.
Hmm.
And then we get caught up in our own webs, and those stories come to life. So whenever we go to see an indigenous healer, there's a reason why they don't speak English. Okay. Because they don't want to hear our story again. Like, that's not necessary. They can already look at us and see the impact of that story in our energy body, in our depression, in our anxiety, in our face, in our sadness, in our overwhelm, in the way we are disconnected and our family systems falling apart and everything else. They don't need to hear the story that created that. They don't want to hear that story. What they want to do is see the light within you and give you access to a new story that's more open, that's more expansive, that opens your heart, that opens your mind, that gives you potentials, that makes you breathe again, that lightens you. And then they clear away all that other stuff while they're singing you a song, while you're distracted. They just go, okay, well, that story, they're just clearing the webs. They're like, that story sucks. Stop telling that story. Don't tell it again. Burn that in the fire. Quit that. And so Western people, we need to learn this lesson big time. And this is one of the reasons, Natalie, why I really want to go into the psychotherapy field. And just if anybody will listen to me, as a former patient and diagnosed person, and all all that I've learned from Indigenous people, I just want everyone to be like, hey, listen, stop diagnosing people and giving them a fateful outcome that's dire and disgusting, that they have to cope with it the rest of their lives and take a pill. That is a terrible storyline. Like, please stop planning that story in people's lives. That's sorcery, really. And just stop doing that. And then the other thing is, help people get out of this storytelling thing. I mean, I sat there for 20 years, Natalie, telling that same story week after week on the couch with big, powerful emotions, making more of the same with my word. Oh my goodness sakes. If somebody had just said, stop, feel, breathe, put that story in the fire, stop telling that. I mean, I would have probably saved 20 years. But I didn't go to those people. I went to the ones that wanted to tell me the story, and I spin my web. I needed that experience. It's fine. It's part of my story. But I would love to help anybody who doesn't want to get spun out for 20 years on a psychotherapist couch. Like, let's really I would love the industry to start realizing these things, stop giving diagnoses, start dealing with the light within, accessing the light within, and helping people to tell a better story about themselves with their word. Really. And feel your feelings. But feel your feelings. Stop telling all those bad stories. Just feel your feelings. Let it go in the fire, release it. Let something new. Every day is a new day. Let something new happen tomorrow.
I love when we have these conversations because I feel like we tell a lot of the same healing dialogue when we're speaking, but the way you say things is so beautiful and different from the way I would explain these things. Because I always come to my training, which yours is more with the Indigenous work, which is so beautiful. But when we talk about reprogramming the mindset through NLP and, choosing our belief systems, it's the exact same thing. One thing that I have noticed over the years is sometimes we get too into our head with the words and the affirmations and the belief systems, and it has to be said this way. And then we're too much in our head again, and coming back to just stop it. Just stop saying the things
That's
in your
what
mind and out loud. And let's just get back to breathing and feeling and just being present in the moment and letting go of all the stories of the past and the future and who I am right now. Just let it all go and just show up. Just show up in the here and now, and how healing and simple and fast that can be if you really do just let go of the old stories.
Yeah, and then
That's
this is
all
what
it is.
fire is here to help us release the old story. Fat birds. Oh my God, the bird allies. Please clear, clear, clear. Sage. Everybody loves sage. I use tobacco too. I mean, these are here to help us. The shamans just go clear, 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 sing a song while I clear it. A person's focused on the song and they just go clear, 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 clear. And then they blow some prayers in, and then bam, there's a whole new life. And it's because we cleared that old, you know, it is a thing, thoughts are things, words are things, and they cling in the air around you. They create these webs. If you've ever walked through the forest and got tangled up in a spider's web, it is so hard to get those thin little you can't even see them, right? They're just like that's why I use that as an example, because they're like everywhere, and you're trying to clear that thing off of you, and it's so hard to get it off. And this is why, I say we got to be careful with the words we speak because we're creating worlds with our words, and we wrap ourselves all up in it. So we want to create beauty. We want to create potential. We don't want to ignore things, that are not working so well right now. It's not like that, but it's just we don't like stare at it as the only thing we see. We got to like it's over here on the side, peripheral vision, while we create what we actually want. It's still right there. We know the world is having going through an extinction phase. Okay. And it's there and it's scary. But we want to focus on what we can create. What can we do about it? We're being initiated to be better with our stories, to be better with our self mastery. So we free up the space to actually address some of these things that are going on with some brilliant solutions that would just pop right into your mind if it wasn't so full of all this other personal drama.
Yeah, we do get very distracted by our own thoughts and then completely ignore the reality of what's right in front of us and what we do have control of because the thoughts become so distracting. And again, that comes back to just where we are in this time and place in the Western world with too much technology, too many thoughts. And that's really what disconnects us. Honestly, I think it's just the overthinking and the obsessing about our stories is really what disconnects us from our spirituality, from Mother Earth, from our divine connection, and from even our own soul connection and our own path. We get distracted in our head, and it's as simple as that. So, with that said, what are your thoughts on stillness and silence, and how we can use either meditation or these other modalities to help us kind of clear and quiet and get more present in order to heal with that inner medicine?
Yeah, this is going to really probably trigger some people when I say this, but it we center ourselves as the focal point. But the indigenous people, they don't center themselves as a focal point. For example, when they make prayers, they're making prayers as a conduit of Mother Earth for all of our relations. And then they add some prayers for their community, and then they add some prayers for their family, and then they add a little prayer for themselves at the end. Western people go, well, here's what I want. And once I get everything I want, then I'll give a little over here to this family. And then I'll give a little here over to this community. Then maybe if I have any time or money left, I'll do something for the environment. It's all backwards.
Mhm.
But the way that we realize that is by getting extremely still often enough that Mother Earth is talking to us through our bodies and that our souls are talking, through us, that quiet whisper. We get still and quiet enough that we can hear that quiet whisper within, that nudging of the heart that, if we don't listen to it, we get guilty because we know we're putting our focus in the wrong place. We know it. But we don't want to stop and look at that too closely because we're just in such a hurry to get everything we want. So it's actually really important to get still so you can have that ethics check.
Mhm.
Like, okay, where is my focus? Is it really on only on myself and then other people after? Where is it? And I only say this because I went through it, right? I must just completely confess that when I learned this beautiful Andean practice of the prayer ceremony, the despacho, and it means to dispatch, and they have a different name for it in Caro. But this Caro shaman ceremony, this that all Quechuan people perform, is a prayer offering for Mother Earth. And when I started experiencing this as part of my training, I thought, great opportunity to ask for what I want. And that's what I did. I did that for years, and then I guided other people to ask for what they want. And then I started getting this awkward feeling like, I don't think I'm doing this right. It's working, but I don't really think I'm really getting it. And I started just taking some additional training and working with some more shamans and really kind of opening myself to what's going on with that whole prayer thing, And I started asking more questions. And then I started realizing, oh, this is a good opportunity for personal shadow work to own my mistakes. So I started using it for that. And then my husband and I do still use the ceremony for that ongoing. But then I started realizing Wait a second. I think it's bigger than that. Until finally it got through. Oh, no, no, no. It starts with the earth. It starts with gratitude for Mother Earth. It starts with prayers for all of our relations. It starts there. And then it winds its way to you at the end. And okay. So it was an uncomfortable rewiring of my consciousness to come to that. But that's the kind of realization that the Western world needs to have right now.
Mhm. That's beautiful. I really love that. And I feel like I'm so excited to start doing that myself now, because I feel like I was the person who wanted everything for me. All my prayers, on my meditations were about my manifestations. And a few years ago, especially as I got deeper into meditating and going up to an hour or more on a daily basis fairly consistently over the last few years, it shifted to me wanting to be better for the greater good, for the collective, for humanity. But you take it even a step further, as it's not just humanity first, it's Mother Earth first. It's that divine mother that is who we all are even before we exist. And so I'm excited to start adding that into my meditative and prayer practice as I call in my guides, my angels and God, and do my daily meditation and channeling work to now tap into this other layer. So thank you so much for bringing that forth, because that gave me a new insight of how I can shift my consciousness to the next level, which is really beautiful. And I hope everyone listening is picking up on that too, because
Yeah.
that's a big shift. That's a huge shift. And I don't hear people saying that or talking about that. In this spiritual world, we do talk about ourselves and kind of how are we going to help our community. But yeah, Mother Earth really comes first, because that's who created us. I mean, God created us, but we come from Mother Earth first and foremost.
Yeah, and it's really shifting the focus, right? Out of
Mhm.
what do which is my individual soul, think I should be doing next,
Mhm.
to like that greater picture. It's like, oh, I'm listening to Mother Earth. I'm listening to all of my relations. How can I serve Mother Earth in all of my relations?
Mhm.
What gift do I have that I don't even know I have? Because I might be pointed in just slightly the wrong direction and not even realize it, because I'm only looking at my soul and what I'm doing, and maybe my family and what I'm doing with my family, or maybe my community and my tribe, but I'm not really looking outside of that. And this is the earth keeper, the earth steward, the steward of earth is the one that looks through these lens at the earth first. And this is why we admire indigenous shamans, because when they show up in the space, the energetic vibe that they carry is that high frequency of I'm here for all of my relations. I'm here for all of earth. When somebody walks in that has that intention, everything about them feels like a blessing. That is the walking blessing. And when I decided a few years ago I wanted to be a walking blessing, after hearing one of my other teachers say that, I was like, I like that too. I'm going to take that on. I want to be a walking blessing. I was like, wait a second. They are the walking blessing.
Mhm.
And then I started listening more closely to how do they make the prayers, and watching more closely, because I had co-opted it for my own purposes. And I was like, wait a second. And this is really why it's important for Western people who want to learn earth practices. It's just a good idea to study with people who never forgot how, because we have forgotten a lot of things and our perspective has gotten very turned around. So, in order to get in right relationship with Mother Earth, it is really good to study with an unbroken lineage of medicine people, so that you get trained back to the way that our ancestors long ago understood before all of this craziness of colonization and all that happened. So, we just have a lot of rewiring in our consciousness to do, and it honors these indigenous people that kept this tradition alive through a whole lot of persecution for a really long time, to study with them and to give money to their communities and give support and prayer to their communities. It honors all the sacrifice of those lineages.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I'm so grateful that we still have lineages and communities on our planet that are pure, that still live a simple existence and aren't bombarded with the craziness that we have in our Western world, because it gives us the opportunity to reconnect, to kind of step back in history to a time where we were more connected. And I'm so grateful that there are people like you that go out there and go learn from them. I would love to do that at some point in my lifetime, learn from some of the greater gurus and shamans that have really, like you said, have that unbroken lineage where they are more divinely connected to Mother Earth and have that wisdom without being tainted by all the experiences that we have in our modern culture.
Yeah, and a lot of the ways that I do my healing work is because of that lineage.
Hmm.
So what people may not understand, because I'm just the face, right? Like I'm on a show, or I'm with somebody in a healing session, and they just think, "Oh, that's Kerri." No. That's just me being a hollow bone. That's me being a conduit for the lineage that's thousands of generations old of medicine people that come through me for the healing session. I am simply being the hollow bone through which this intelligence can move through me on behalf of someone else. And so my whole job that I can applaud myself for if I do it well is getting out of the way, like being that hollow bone, being that conduit and stepping out of the way of it so that, my heart, my mind, everything is aligned with that hollow bone. That's my true work. And the better I am at that, the better things go. And I think that we all could take a lesson from that. We may not be healers, but if we can step into that hollow bone and let spirit and the higher guidance of this planet move through us, then we're really becoming one with Mother Earth. Now we're going to access greater intelligence that is really profound, that has those brilliant solutions that would make all the difference in the coming years. Because we're at that pivot point. We need to really make some big decisions in the next few years in order to survive. So we got to do it now.
Hmm. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I'm so glad that you came on today and talked about all these wonderfully deep and earthly connected things. For our audience listening, what is the best way to get connected to you?
Absolutely. Well, you can, if you're interested in a healing session or inner medicine training, or Soul Nectar Show, because Natalie is going to be on that one.
Mhm.
Any of that going on, any events and things like that, you can go to my website. Is kerrihummingbird.com, KERRI hummingbird.com/inner medicine. If you want the latest chapter from the inner medicine book, you just add on /inner medicine. You'll get the chapter and a grounding meditation, and you'll get on my email list. And don't hop right off either. I hate now when people do that. They come on the list and they go right off. No, stay on the list for a little while. Check it out. Stay in the vibe. Check out what we got going on and stay with us. We're trying to bring community together. I know you are too, Natalie. This is such a challenge with Western mindsets to come together in community and open our hearts and learn how to stay together through the difficulties. This is what Indigenous people have done, and it's our turn now. We got to learn how to stay together.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I will make sure that we link up all of your website, social media to your podcast in the show notes so that everyone can reach out. They can get your book.
Yeah.
They can learn more about all the amazing things that you do and get
Yay.
reconnected to Mother Gaia and all this beautiful ancient wisdom that's so valuable and so grounding. I feel so, I mean, I don't know another word other than grounded, but grounded and connected every time I talk to you and, cover these kind of subjects. So I'm just so grateful for your presence, your knowledge, your wisdom, for sharing all that you do with your community and so forth. So thank you so much. It's been such an honor to have you back on the show and reconnect with you. And I know our audience is just absolutely going to love this episode, and all the wonderful deep things that we went into today.
Thank you.
If you love all things intuition, manifestation, and psychic development, be sure to check out all the playlists that I have on my YouTube page so you can start binge watching right now.